The first order of business is to approve the minutes for the September 16th and the October 1 meetings. Do I hear a motion to so approve?
So moved.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so ordered. Lisa, you're on that, please.
Okay. The 2014 preliminary budget will be presented next month at the November 18th public meeting, as well as the third quarter financials. Our audiovisual is finally working properly. There will not be a supervisor's work session in November due to the election, and the planning commission meeting will be November 12th. The planning commission work session will be November 19th. We did receive the fireman relief money, which we receive every year in the beginning of October. And this year we received $88,908, and then we automatically distribute it evenly to both of the fire companies. The Fireman Relief Fund is a state fund, and they, with excess monies they have every year, they then distribute a certain amount to the township, and the township is then required to distribute it to the two fire companies. Halloween will be, trick-or-treat will be October 31st from 6 to 8. I wanted to let you know that we started a township-wide sewer study at the request of the supervisors. So we have a map that, and on that map it shows every system in the township that's ever had an issue. These are on-site systems. So our sewer engineers, we just sent out 200 letters letting people know that they'll be doing door-to-door surveys over the next 2 months. And from that, they'll find out information on the sewer systems that have had issues. And then from there, they'll determine what areas need to be addressed with public sewer in the future. The other thing that we're doing with sewer is, since DEP required the township to put an ordinance in place that requires people to pump every 3 years, that ordinance is in place, and within the first year, we have to start requiring that everybody pump, which means that we have to send a notification to every homeowner that has on-site septic, and they have to provide us with proof that they have pumped within a year. If they haven't pumped within a year, they have to pump, and then every 3 years they have to pump after that. And so we have to keep track of who's pumped and who hasn't, and who's sent in their certifications. The county used to have a program that you could purchase to keep track of that, but they stopped that program. So we're trying to get it implemented now.
Can we use their software?
No.
Lisa, when you mentioned that there was a sewer survey, is that going to be of just the homes that had problems?
Yes.
Or is that
Just the homes that have problems. We have a map in the township building if anybody wants to see it. It's very colorful. Everybody's sewer on there. The other thing we're doing is we have an issue at Ashford sewer system. We have a lot of infiltration, and we're not sure where it's coming from. Last Thursday night at 1 in the morning, we had to send McGovern out, and they pumped all night long because there's water going into the system. I'm not sure where. So on Monday and Tuesday of next week, we're going to do a smoke test. So our sewer engineers will go out and perform the smoke test, and they look for the smoke, and it will come out of wherever there's an issue, wherever there's a something that's cracked or out of drain pipe, if that's connected, or sump pump, something. So we're going to do that Monday and Tuesday.
Lisa, is that the new sand mound systems?
Yes, at Ashford.
It's not terribly new.
Well, it's been repaired, so
Yes.
it's pretty new.
Okay.
It's an old system, but it has, most of the components are new now.
So is there any warranty on the work that was done?
Well, what we think is occurring is that somebody either has a sump pump connected to the system, or their drain pipes are connected to the system. We do not believe it's a part of an issue with the system itself. I talked last month about the zoning hearing board case for the motorcycle tour company, and that's scheduled for November 19th at 7:30. I went to an all-day seminar on stormwater management, so, you know, we keep learning about all the requirements for stormwater and MS4. And then the last thing is Penn's Manor, which is the development on Old Baltimore Pike, going into it's almost into New Garden Township. It's the development that the township took over to complete. And we have to have it completed by the end of the month, so we are going to have it completed by the end of the month.
What needs to be done?
Well, the holdup has been the ADA ramps. They have to be installed, and there's been an issue with the engineering on that from the original plans. So we have that resolved pretty much now. And they have, I think, 17 ramps to install. So I'm having a meeting tomorrow with the contractor and Bob Johnston, our engineer, to just to make sure everything gets done, because we need to dedicate the road. The roads need to be paved so they can be dedicated to us in November.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. The Business Advisory Committee.
I have it
Bill,
right here.
okay, all right, you're going to give it.
Do you want to do it?
You can go ahead.
That's such a nice voice.
Oh, you have the floor.
Bill Houghton, you brought up at one meeting that there should be a policy if we go over budget on certain items. And so the Business Advisory Committee has created a policy. They submitted it to myself and the supervisors. And ultimately, what their policy says that in the event that an unplanned but necessary expenditure would exceed the current available funds in an expense category, then the township manager would advise the Board of Supervisors if this expenditure would be in excess of 10% of the expense category amount, with the following stipulation. It is not the intent of this recommendation to impose restrictive policies on the management of the township, and as such, the Business Advisory Committee assumes that the above will be administered only for unplanned expenditures more than $5,000. Furthermore, at each quarterly finance report presentation, the township manager will report on such expenditures during the prior quarter. So they presented this policy, and the supervisors,
I haven't seen it yet. Well, we did talk about it, but I had comments. Okay,
Just there at the first reading.
that's right, yeah.
so it sounds like they need to discuss it further. And I'm going to put it on the website so everybody else can see it.
Sure,
And then we'll
that's
put
fine.
it on the agenda next month.
Good.
Albert?
Bring your shadow.
That's a big shout out.
We call it out in the back. I don't want to stand in front of you.
Go ahead.
This is Officer Lydell Knoll. He's been with us probably more than a year with his time in Parksburg. Like, it is, has to be presented by the board, and you have to vote to do this. It is my recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that Patrolman Lydell Knoll be removed from his probation as required under the Second Class Township Code and the Police Tenure Act. His probation period is to be a minimum of 6 months and a maximum of 1 year. Officer Knoll has demonstrated his ability as a Pennsylvania law enforcement officer. He has served the residents of Kennett Township well during his past year. He is self-motivated, enthusiastic, and a dedicated police officer. I consider him an asset to our township. So I need you to vote to
I
do
do
that.
too, and I move that we remove, it's hard to remove you from anything. From probation and make you a full-time, bona fide member of our community and police force. I so
I'll proudly second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
For Officer Knoll, I'm a member, Bill Shelton, I'm a member of the Safety Committee. And every time your name comes up, it comes up with a lot of professionalism and concern about our community, and that's over your entire tenure here. You have a good reputation through the Safety Committee by everything that we've heard.
I appreciate that. That's the unfortunate part about law enforcement. Sometimes, if you're doing your job correctly, the experience is not always pleasant. So it's nice to hear that positive feedback. So thank you.
Great, thanks very much.
The next subject is the Cypress Street connector. And Bob Johnston and Tom Nail are going to present this project. I have two maps over here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the pedestrian access along Cypress Street from the New Garden Shopping Center to the borough. Last month, John Habrick made a presentation about it to introduce it to the Board of Supervisors and to the township. And this is in response to renewed interest on Chester County Planning Commission. And they asked that we have our engineer look at it and make some recommendations. Last month, the Board of Supervisors said it was okay, so we asked Bob Johnson to take a close look at it, which he has done. And he has a little presentation starting at the borough and going west along Cypress. Bob?
Good evening. My name is Bob Johnston. I'm the Kennett Township engineer. And I just want to clarify one thing. We did a what we call a desktop study. We didn't do a close look at this. So I want everybody to understand. The charge was to look for placement of sidewalks from the Kennett Borough to and up to New Garden. One, to get the people from the borough to the shopping center here in New Garden. I'm trying to get out of the way here. Maybe it's better to step over here so everybody can see. This is the borough line for Kennett Borough. This is the line between the township, between Kennett Township, New Garden. It shows the same thing on this plan, Kennett Township, New Garden, to end up again at the shopping center. This is the McDonald's, this is the Dunkin' Donuts. Well, we looked at a few different ways to propose a sidewalk between the two. One suggestion was to take the sidewalk down from Penn's Manor, come across the north side of Old Baltimore Pike to the intersection, cross over to the drugstore, which has sidewalk, car wash, which has sidewalk, then come down and cross the bridge, which has sidewalk. We looked at the south side of Cypress Street. In this area here, there's floodplain, we believe there's wetlands, there could be a lot of fill. At one point in time, I was told that there was also some spent mushroom soil. There's also a drop-off of feet between the top of the roadway and the bottom of the ground, so that would have to be filled. If it's wetlands, that involves a permit, a lot of money, a lot of time. That's why we went and looked at the north side of Cypress Street. In this area here is La Comunidad. There's sidewalk in front of La Comunidad. That was put in and required by the township when that plan was approved. So we have sidewalk here, little gap, people walk across the bridge. La Comunidad, which when I travel around the township and even go through the borough, I see a lot of women with their children walking on that side of the road, going to and from La Comunidad, walking down to the stores down in here. We looked at continuing the sidewalk on Kennett Township up to the township border, picking it up in New Garden along the same side. It's flat. It would be in the PennDOT right-of-way. This is a signalized intersection here at Scarlet, signalized intersection here at Mill and Old Baltimore, and Mill and Cypress. You want to cross at a signalized intersection. We try not to have any what's termed mid-block crossings. Also, there's a concern down here. There's a lot of drainage. There are drains and outlet structures that PennDOT owns that at this time we don't know where they are, where they come from. And unfortunately, if you go touch them, it could be the responsibility of the township for ownership, maintenance, which is not one of my recommendations. Again, we did a quick desktop study, we did a quick walkthrough. All the sidewalk would be basically in the PennDOT right-of-way, which would mean everything would have to comply with PennDOT rules and regulations for concrete installation, so forth. All the work would have to be accessible according to ADA, all the way down to here. Again, we've looked at some different places, and these were the options that we, again, came up with through our discussions with some people from the township, some people from the committee.
What is the distance from the start up, I guess it's north of the drugstore? Is that where you?
Well, there's already a sidewalk there,
All
so
right, what's the distance for new construction?
I'm getting that out right now. Approximate. Penns Manor Drive distance, you didn't give me a foot distance on here.
If you don't have it precisely.
No, I do not have a
Give me
foot
an estimate,
distance.
would you? Is it 1,000 yards?
This is about 1,500 feet,
I'm sorry, I want new construction.
new construction.
Yeah, if something is existing,
New construction. The
Right.
sidewalks in Penns Manor stop up here.
I see.
And one of the items was asked is to continue the sidewalk down and over so they could access into the borough.
Okay.
That at this point is about 1,500 feet.
Mhm.
From here, what little bit's here,
Mhm.
in Kennett Township is somewhere around, I believe, 1,300 feet. Which this, I don't know what the distance is, but I believe that's close to 1,300 feet.
Okay.
I brought it up to Bob about Penn's Manor because
Mhm.
this was brought up before that, you know, I believe, to the township, I would think we would be looking at addressing the 300 plus residents we have in Penn's Manor versus the other side where there are no residents. And it was brought up before that the people in Penn's Manor would love to be able to walk into the borough, but it's not safe to walk up the side of that street.
Now, I'm not going to speak out of turn, but it's my understanding the borough may also have a plan to do some sidewalk extensions in the borough to take people on Cypress Street and take them up towards the center of the borough. It also could be on Old Baltimore Pike to do some, fill in the gaps.
Could I speak
Bob,
there?
could you, just one moment, please. Bob, could you give us any idea of the cost?
We did not go through cost-wise, but we have a budget range right now, without looking too hard, of about $150 a foot. That would be for curb, sidewalk, grading, permitting. It's a lot of money, but again, we're under PennDOT regulations, not lesser regulations at this time. Again, this is a desktop study. This is not hard, fast
I
engineering.
appreciate it. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
What-
Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, Bob. But we also have some people here from other municipalities that are quite interested. And also, we have Kevin Myers from Chester County Planning, and he can give us a little background on possible grants and funding.
Sure, thank you. My name is Kevin Myers. I'm a planner with the Chester County Planning Commission, and I've worked with most municipalities here in southern Chester County, in particular New Garden, Kennett, Square Borough, and
Speak
Kennett
up,
Township
please.
in the past. Sure. And, you know, this is a discussion
You want
With the mic?
that has been talked about in one way or another for quite some time.
Walk away with it.
What's that?
Speak up and walk
Just
away.
bring it. This is something that we've talked about for quite some time. It's identified in all municipalities' comprehensive plans. And, it's quite evident, as Bob noted, that for those of you who, you live closer to this area than I obviously do, you're from this community, that it's a well-traveled area, that there's safety concerns. And so, we're just kind of working in conjunction with the municipalities in the Kennett Area Regional Planning Commission, just to kind of help spur moving things forward. So on that note, to keep it short, the point of this to a certain extent is that the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, which is the MPO for the Philadelphia area, for transportation funding has a grant program coming up. There'll be an informational meeting at our office in January, but it's a $10+ million program that will be a 20/80 match, and engineering fees and expenditures can be a part of that match. And so we're hopeful that the municipalities can all kind of contribute together and work towards a multi-municipal implementation measure here to help solve a safety problem and for the good of all the residents, and kind of continuing that pedestrian node connection between New Garden Shopping Center and the borough. And that's really all I have to say, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any questions for Kevin? Tom, do you, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Bill, do you have a question for?
I'm not sure who to address it to, but I think I heard that all of the proposed areas for sidewalks are covered by existing easements, and so land would not have to be acquired or purchasing of easements in order to attempt
Right.
the
Right, I
exercise.
don't think so. Bob would have to probably could be a better answer when further studies done in terms of the right-of-way. We have contacted PennDOT, Fran Haney at District 6, and they are, just a quick communication between us and them, and they are open to the idea. It's not out of the ordinary, it's not something that hasn't been done before.
And then a second question is, the township has an ordinance for the maintenance of sidewalks. Is it fair to say that the township would require the owners of the property then to maintain the sidewalk after it's built, if this goes through?
I can't answer that yet. It's likely, but that would certainly be something that would have to be resolved. Tom, anything else?
Yeah, we also have Betty Gordon from New Garden here. I think you all met her before. Do you have any comment, Betty?
Well, New Garden's very interested, but
Mhm.
the cost would be a problem.
Right,
But we're very interested in discussing it.
good.
Good.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Carol,
Next
regional
question.
planning?
Well, let Tom finish up, please. Go ahead, Tom.
Carol from regional planning?
We've looked at it, we actually discussed it, I think before I was on the commission, but I know that Kennett Borough is very supportive of this. Certainly, we're working, Joe Scalise is here, and our town engineer, and we've been looking at extending work on Cypress to the borough line. So we're always pro sidewalk as it is.
Good, okay.
But I'm also representing Activate, which is the group that started the impetus for this, and met with the gentleman from the Planning Commission
Great.
to get this started.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
We have
Thank
Joe
you.
Scalise with us also from the borough. Do you have any comment, Joe? Or?
Not at this time, just...
Well, you support it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that was the main thing. We want to make sure that you know that everyone does support it.
Yes. Okay.
And we really appreciate your help and such. We realize that the next step is going to be to get a workshop together with the people. When John Hadrick gets back from vacation, we're going to set up a workshop to further pursue. Any other questions on the subject?
Bob, you had a question?
I just wanted to comment that the Intergen Committee met on this, or has been meeting on this. In fact, Dennis Melton, the architect of town, sponsored a walk in the borough to see the walkability of Cypress, to gather information from their standpoint. So my only comment is to say, first of all, thank you, because this group is definitely looking for something like this. The borough is doing proactive activity, I don't know to the extent of what I witnessed or heard, to complement this, and I think it would be a great favor to those in Penn's Manor to be able to walk the borough like that. So I just think it's hopefully something, will this come before the Planning Commission so we can help with all the layout?
Sure it will.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Bill?
Just wondering about the other side of town, from McFarland Road into the borough. There's no good sidewalk on Cypress Street. There's portions of sidewalks, but not a continuous one from the Kennett Medical Campus into the borough.
That's right, true.
That needs to be addressed, because
Mhm.
then we also have potential development up there, at the Blevins property, which could be
Very large.
160 apartments possibly, but there's a lot of residents up there.
And possibly more to come. Okay, any more questions about the whole issue of the Cypress Street potential sidewalk area? Bill?
Just one question. Roughing this out, it looks like a minimum of $250,000 to put this in,
Oh, yeah.
and it will run
Yeah.
higher than that.
Mhm.
Do we anticipate that prevailing wages will enter into this
Oh, I'm sure it
equation?
will.
And secondly, since it's going to benefit the borough and New Garden Township, I would think they might be partners in this whole
I would think so too.
issue.
It's all to be determined.
That's one of the things we want to look at, Bill, is how we will partnership this, since it's intermunicipality.
Thank you.
And prevailing wage has to be
Yes, that's a given.
applied to this.
That's a
Build it in
given.
little sections, under 25,000.
100,500 or 18,750 is the number.
20 feet at a time for 10 years.
One a year.
Okay, we're on to road. Any more questions on this? The report on road work, the township crew has hauled millings from the job site to various residents. And if anybody wants millings from roads, please see Roger Lyle. The 2013 paving has been completed, and we all know that the roads were closed for this various purpose. Rosedale and Hillendale have an access during the jobs when the jobs were underway. All the roads came out very nicely, and the township has paid $402,000 for this work. And it was just under budget. I can't believe it came in so close. New key pumps have been installed and inspected by L&I at the maintenance garage for fuel pumps. A new radio repeater system was installed and is working very well. This has been an ongoing job since the FCC did a channel split earlier this year, and I have no idea what that really means, except it cost us money. Now all radios can communicate with others in the county. That ought to be something. The last round of mowing is underway along with trimming. New security cameras were installed at the maintenance garage to help monitor yard waste and recycled dumping. Signs have been installed letting the public know the site is monitored. We've had a bit of a problem with trash being put in the lot where we try to put yard waste. And that's been a bit of a problem for us, and I think these new security cameras will help.
We had, well, to speak on that, we've had 2 people that we've been able to get their license plate number that have been illegally dumped. And then just Saturday, somebody went and dumped the sink and countertops and all kinds of stuff down there. So it's been very helpful.
These people may not be from the townships, which I sort of hope they're not.
The last 2 were not.
That's good, okay. Great. Bids for salt were put out and are received and will be awarded this month. Penn's Manor completion will be completed at the end of October. Roads in the development will be dedicated to the township in November. Backfill of the edges of newly paved roads are underway. That's been mostly completed at this moment. There is a wait period after roads are paved before the shoulders can be filled. And that was particularly germane to Hillendale between the township and Greenwood. Equipment for the winter is being pulled out and prepared for the snow. Any other questions? Any questions, I should say. Okay. And let's go on to the next one. The bid for the salt, Lisa, you have that?
We have a bid here from the Southern Chester County Co-op that the township is part of with 4 other municipalities. So the item that they just recently bid was for rock salt. It was, Kennett Township's portion was for 200 ton at $56.10 per ton for a total of $11,220, and the low bidder was Oceanport.
I move we accept that.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Ask for a release.
We have 3 things for Penn's Manor that Lisa was mentioning. Widening escrow release number 2 in the amount of $26,071.87. I'll do these two first. And escrow release number 2 for the general improvements, release $124,746.53. I move we approve both of those escrow releases.
I second that.
Questions?
All in favor?
Aye. And we have a change order that our roadmaster requested, adding some quantities to the, for curbing and pavement and some additional sidewalks. And the addition is going to cost us $39,734.85. I move we approve this change order.
For Penn's Manor?
For Penn's Manor.
Okay, I second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Finished?
Okay, subdivisions and development plans, Bob?
No.
I haven't.
All right. You're not Bob, but go ahead.
I put a map of the property we're talking about, which is Burrs Ridge West. It's the Bove property, right off of Burrs Run Road. The property consists of 43 acres in the R2 district. The applicant is proposing a reverse subdivision of this property. Originally, this subdivision plan was approved in 2006. And with this reverse subdivision, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the applicant will create open space by combining original lots 1 through 5, which will be combined into 3 larger lots, and eliminating the original lots 6 through 10.
Correct.
And lots 6 through 10 will be conveyed to Mr. Bove
Correct.
and not developed.
Correct.
All existing conservation easement agreements remain in force. The township zoning officer and solicitor had indicated that the application would be governed by the zoning in effect at the time of the original plan approval. And this has taken a year. Just so you know, Mr. Bove is doing a very good thing for our township, and it has taken him quite a while to get through this. So I asked the supervisors to consider approving the plans as presented with the following conditions. That the supervisors approve the requested waiver from the Saldo section 511.B.3.J.3E to reduce the soil group 1 hydrologic group level for post-developed disturbed areas, which will reduce the number of trees disturbed. The township will execute all legal documents which have been approved by our township attorney. All outstanding issues in Gilmore Associates letter dated October 16th will be addressed, which they all have been addressed. And then with the original subdivision, Mr. Bove paid $61,774.05 for the fee in lieu that was required for these lots. He will get reimbursed that fee since he is now not developing it, but the engineering fees that have been accumulated will be deducted from that fee before it's distributed.
So moved.
Jeff, the one lot that's now going to be combined into I've forgotten how many acres it is. You own that in fee at this moment, is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. It's some 23 acres.
Yeah, okay.
And it is now subject, except for one little spot around the barn because we couldn't work it. It is subject to a permanent easement in favor of the Delaware Nature Society. It will never be built upon.
Oh, that's very good, thank you.
In addition, a piece of the lot across the street is also in easement, and we're completing our easement plan. So the view shed on Burrs Run Road will remain as it is forever.
Is there still a building lot on the other side there?
There is, and we're addressing that in due course.
Okay.
Okay, I'd be anxious to talk to you about that further. As you probably know, I already did.
And it will not be necessary.
All right. We have a motion?
Yes.
No, are there any other questions? No questions?
No, I
Margot?
I'm just gonna say a comment. I want to applaud Jeff for what you're doing. I know this project very well. And if there is that opportunity, if Mike is talking about that section across the road, I had to take this infomercial opportunity to bring that up, but it's a beautiful chunk of land. If anyone's been out there, it's got a portion of the large stone outcroppings that connect onto the property next door, that supposedly some activity happened during George Washington's battling on the Brandywine.
Jeff, we applaud you. I move this question, we move that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have no extensions. What we do, the Burroughs Ridge?
No.
Right, okay. Other business, Michelle Sullivan. We have you on the list?
We have Michelle Sullivan here. She's a resident
Of the township?
of the township and also part of the Underground Railroad.
Although I'm a member of the Underground Railroad Board, and there are several people here also on the board, I'm really writing this letter to you as an individual. And I hope you'll bear with me. I have only 3 paragraphs to read. I would like to thank many people who are looking into the feasibility of restoring the Fussell House. We thank the Onyx Group, Stephen Silver, the Kennett Township Supervisors and Planning Commission, the Dean of Lincoln University, the former owners and people who have lived in the Fussell House, local residents, and many out-of-town tourists who have come to Kennett Square to visit the essential abolitionist homes that connected to make the Underground Railroad. The Pines, as it is called, is important not just because it was owned by 2 different abolitionists, as well, by the way, as the Way family. Some of the Rose family. Way Roses is what I'm really trying to say. But because it is also a gateway to the Underground Railroad in Chester County. One can follow the very path that fugitives used. Indeed, it is expected that the already established Harriet Tubman Byways organization and the Delaware Department of Transportation plan to extend that historical path from south of Virginia up the eastern shore of Maryland, through Delaware, and to the home of Thomas Garrett in Wilmington. He spirited fugitives north into Kennett Square, and we expect that byway to come into Pennsylvania. Kennett Underground Railroad has toured at least 12 tourist buses this summer, and people are always awed by the number of famous abolitionists who lived here, and the many famous people who came from out of town to speak at the Progressive Meeting House, which is now the Brandywine Valley Tourist Center. Often the speakers shared a meal with the Fussells and then later the Darlings, who were the 2 abolitionist families. Many stayed for the night at the Pines. People such as Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Susan B. Anthony, W.E.B. Du Bois, William Lloyd Garrison, Lucretia Mott, Sojourner Truth. I'm not kidding. These people were here. And John Greenleaf Whittier. The Pines is a monument crucial for the rich and varied history of the county. I thank you all and look forward to providing all the support that I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Very good. I have a question.
Yes.
You said that there were a number of buses that had visited that site
Oh, yeah.
this year. Were they able to get into the?
Oh, no. I
didn't
in
think
fact,
so.
organized
Yeah.
the bus tours.
Mhm.
And what we do is we stop right by the Fussell House
Okay.
and tell them the history
Sure.
there.
Okay.
Sometimes we drive into the parking lot there and just let people see.
Sure.
But we've had easily 200 visitors, and a good many of them come from out of town and out of state. So we have a lot of people coming into the town and buying meals and so on.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I went into the building with a few other people, and you have to walk very carefully.
So,
That's putting it mildly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something on this one. I wanted to clarify, since at our last work session, the Fussell House was discussed. And the owner was here who suggested that he wanted to submit a demolition permit for the house. Since then, it seems there's been confusion that some people think that it can just be put before the supervisors. And I just wanted to clear up that it cannot. It has to go through a planning process through the planning commission in order to submit a demolition permit for that house. They have not submitted a demolition permit yet. But the other thing is, in researching this afternoon the conditional use hearing for that property and the land development, we need, as a township, we need to get further clarification on whether or not they can just demolish that house or apply for a demolition, because the way I read it, a conditional use was approved for 3 uses on that site, one being the hotel, the restaurant, and an office building, which includes the historic house. Then a subdivision was approved for the same 3 things. So, just like Mr. Bove, he had to go through a reverse subdivision process to eliminate lots. So, I need further clarification from our attorney as to whether or not they can just remove that house, because that's part of what was approved in the conditional use and subdivision plan, the way I read it. I did speak to our attorney this afternoon, and he felt the same way, but he wanted to review it further. So we are going to get that clarification.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Excuse me.
All right.
Is that a historical site?
Yes.
It's registered?
No. It's registered with the Kennett Township Historic Commission, but it's not on the National Registry.
What's involved in doing that?
Well, an application.
Yeah, I believe that there's a process you have to go through to get it on the
Yes,
Historic
it's
Registry.
quite a process.
It would be a shame to lose it.
I think you're right. Eva?
You're correct.
We had a discussion back here, we're not sure who owns the house. Whose property is it?
Mr. Silver.
So Mr. Silver owns
It's
it.
called Kennett Land Development LLC.
And Silver, that's the way that he owns the motel, is that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, the whole property.
Yes.
Onyx.
Are there any other comments or public comments of any sort? Yes,
I
please.
just wanted to make a comment.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Pardon me?
Can you identify
I'm
yourself?
Alice Sestrich.
Okay.
I live in the township, and I've worked with Mary Dugan on the Underground Railroad. And in 2006, when Mr. Silver bought the property, he had assured Mary Dugan that he would preserve the building. I just wanted to mention
I
that.
do recall that. Bill?
Bill Houghton. I spoke to you earlier about the next workshop session, which now is on the 19th of November. I would like...
I'm sorry, that's,
PC.
the next supervisors is in December. The planning commission's work session is November 19th.
Okay, the workshop session
Yes.
is on what date?
It's
December?
December.
Okay. I'd like you to put on the agenda for that to bring up as an issue the rules governing political signs in our township. I've had a number of people complain about the timing of when political signs go up relative to election dates, number of signs on properties and that type of thing. It's just a general complaint about these political signs. And I think that issue, we ought to review what are our current rules and what changes might we want to make.
Bill, that's a good point. We have a sign ordinance, and the sign ordinance is quite clear about the size of any sign for any purpose, 6 square feet. Insofar as political line signs and other signs to be put on anyone's property, the requirement is that you must have prior approval from the landowner. And in many cases, the landowner might not be readily available, or it might be difficult to get such permission, but without it, the sign is improperly put there. And I refer specifically to a lot of signs that are been put on DuPont Trust property.
There are 9 of them down the road.
There are a lot more than that, thank you.
So some have been removed.
I don't know.
Okay.
But your point is well put, and
All right.
a lot of people don't like them, but that's another matter. Okay, yes.
On that point, another issue which comes up from a safety point of view is avoiding putting signs in the line of sight at an intersection. And I don't know if that's also addressed, but that would also be a good thing to bring up in a discussion about.
It's also very clear that they cannot be put in the road right-of-way. The road right-of-way on Kennett Road varies from 33 feet to 50, and it's measured from the center line of the road. So it's half the distance of the total right-of-way of the road from the center line. Okay, any other questions? Oh, gosh, you all, usually we here for long. Let's talk of something else. How about you adjourn? I move we adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.